Cloud. Hey, Archana.
Hi, Hope.
All right, y'all. Today we have Archana Sangha. La, la, la. Hey, y'all. Today we have Archana Sangha. Archana is a fellow physician assistant, and she and I know each other from a long time ago. My daughter was 8 months old. So let's see, that would have been 11 years ago
Wow.
that we met in Kenya on a medical mission trip. So I've invited her here today to talk about her journey through being a PA, and now she's a medical science liaison. So, Archana, thank you for coming on.
Hey, Hope. Great to see you. And it's hard every time I see you, I think back to the time we met in Kenya, of all places.
Yeah, I know I think there were three of us PAs, and I've also interviewed Amanda Padota on the podcast.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. She's the one who started the biscuit business, right?
Yes, she started a biscuit business in Las Vegas.
So cool. I feel like
What
if
have
you're
you
out in
started?
Kenya, well, I feel like if you're
I'm
out in
just kidding.
Kenya, you're going to meet people who are out of the box already, right?
Yes.
Like, yeah, so I am not surprised.
So I wanted to talk about how you sort of got to where you are now. So when I met you, you were a dermatology physician assistant, and then I think the next time our paths crossed, you were president of SDPA, and now you're an MSL. So what you don't have to go into too much detail because I'll ask you questions, but just tell me like how did that start?
Yeah, so when we met, hard to believe it's been that long, but when we met, I was pretty much a brand new dermatology PA. I had been practicing for about 2.5 years. And during from the time I left Kenya to the time I became SDPA president, a lot had transpired. A lot of learning, a lot of meeting, people who were far further along in life than I was in their professional PA career than I was. Um, and that really influenced my trajectory. I recently heard a podcast about something called slipstream, and it's this
Oh.
concept for, I believe it's bicyclists. So I'm not a cyclist, full disclosure. So if you're cycling, there is a stream of air that propels behind you, right? That's happening behind you. So the person behind you, if they're cycling right behind you, that stream of air actually pulls them forward.
Wow.
So it's like this cool, physics sort of component. But how, that transpires to my life is that there's people who have been slipstreams in my life. And what I
Yeah.
mean by that is, there's people that I have met, been blessed to have friendships, collegial relationships with, where just their presence in my life has slipstreamed me decades beyond where I would have been without them.
Oh,
And
love
like that
that.
concept, just when I heard the concept, you know how you know something intuitively, but then you
Yeah.
have words to it, right? And
Yes.
that's when I heard that podcast about Slipstream. That's when I was like, that's the word I was looking for. That's the idea. And that's who I'm surrounded with and who I choose to be surrounded or,
Oh,
by.
how
And you're one of those
people
people.
what? Oh,
Absolutely,
thank
you
you for
are.
saying that. How do you find these people?
So, the older I get, the more I realize we're all energy. We're all,
Yeah.
we're all vibrating at some frequency. And I think how you show up in the world, your curiosity, just the way you present yourself really attracts like-minded people. I remember early in my career, a dermatologist said to me, I was new at her practice, and she said, you're going to attract a patient population just like you. Watch and see. You're going to change the
Oh,
dynamic of this practice because they were older dermatologists. And she was like, we have a certain patient population, but you being here is going to change the fabric of our practice. And
wow.
and
That
I
makes
was
so
just
much
like,
sense.
what? No, like I was so young, wet behind the ears, Hope. I didn't even understand what she meant by that. And
Yeah.
then 3 years later, right, I was looking at the waiting room and she pulls me aside and she says, you see that? That is a completely different waiting room population than before you showed up here. And she said, now we
Wow.
have all of these young people here.
Yeah.
We have young families here. We have your personality attracted the same like-minded people.
Oh,
So
that
it
is
was
so
just such a
true.
cool concept, right? It was an
Yeah.
observation that I had never made until she had pointed it out to me.
Mhm.
And so such is true in my life. I've just attracted people who were just good intentioned, who were really good
Mhm.
intentioned. And I was talking with a girlfriend of mine the other day, and I realized, there's two types of places we function from. You're either going to function from scarcity or fear, or you're going to function from love and abundance, right? So
Yes.
there's fear and then there's love. And fear manifests itself as scarcity, this kind of lack mindset. I don't have enough. I want that. I want to be where he is. How come he got this and I didn't get that?
Mhm.
Whereas intuitively, for the majority of my life, I've had naturally, like my personality is an abundance mindset. So I haven't tried to cultivate that per se. It's just innate for me, where it's like, I want more. If you win, I win because I get to learn from your example. If I win, I want to teach you how to win. And so it's like this sense of like expansiveness versus this like, you're cowering in fear and there's never enough.
Yes, and people really do feel that.
They really do. And I think a lot of people look at my life now and where I am now, and they think, oh, easy for you to say that because you have all of this. But Hope, I had that same abundance mindset in my $550 apartment in PA school in the hood of Philadelphia. So
Yeah.
it's not your surroundings. It is truly your mindset. And it's your mindset that changes where you go and determines
Yeah.
it. Yeah,
And are you like a dream maker? Do you write it all down? Do you have bucket list?
I definitely have I'm a vision board maker for sure.
Okay.
I'm definitely a vision board maker. I'm one of those people who chooses a word for the year and tries to use that word to kind of direct my path for that year.
Yeah.
So
What's your word?
my word this year is queen.
Yeah.
Um, and that was I've been doing this thing recently where I pick words that frighten me, words that I don't believe are me, to kind of grow me out of my comfort zone. And when I say
Yes.
queen, I don't just mean like, the nice fancy things of someone like ruling or having nice surroundings and owning nice things. That's not what I mean at all. Why I chose queen is because there's a certain way you show up to each situation, engagement. And
Yes.
what I see as someone who's a queen is that they're very diplomatic. um,
Uh-huh.
they're very elegant in the way they carry themselves. They have a sense of confidence and knowing who they are. They are okay saying no and not giving an explanation. So things that I need to work on are the way that I see the word queen manifest. Whereas a princess mindset is one that
Yeah.
asks for permission or feels entitled or
That is so good. Archana, you should write a book. I love that.
it's just, Hope, it's just those things that I notice about myself. And I've done enough self-reflection over the years that I'm like, that's not who I am. Like, I need to grow into this person. Cause think about it. I have a little girl, she's 4, and she's
Yeah.
like, I'm a princess, I'm a princess. And I'm like, yes, you get to be a princess now. But at a certain age, you got to become a queen. You can't be a
That's
princess all
right.
your life. Right now, you
Yeah.
bask in this princess mindset. Let us all shower you. But I think too often women grow up at just remaining a princess and constantly seeking affirmation and permission.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
so
And I
yeah.
would like to think that this all started when you dressed like the queen of music, Tina Turner, at the at the fall conference this
Oh
year.
my goodness. Hope, when I chose Queen, I will have to say I definitely did like a little nod to Tina. because you were instrumental in me showing up. I've got to tell your listeners about that story if you haven't already shared it on your podcast yet. But y'all, Hope was the reason I packed a Tina Turner outfit for the SDPA concert. I'm sorry, the SDPA reception, where Hope and I thought we were supposed to dress like a musical star. I
And it was the weekend of Halloween.
to put it into context, it was the weekend of Halloween, you're right. And so I packed an outfit for Tina Turner. I was like, I'm going to embody Tina Turner, makes sense. And then I got to the conference, started speaking to other colleagues of mine, and they were like, no, 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 Archana, it's a t-shirt. It's not, it's not, you're not supposed to dress as a character. Like it's a t-shirt, it's a concert t-shirt. And I was freaking out, but they're like, you packed Tina, you even brought her a wig, you need to be Tina. And I was
Yeah.
like, there's no way I can be Tina when all y'all are going to wear some concert t-shirts. So that day, I went down to downtown Nashville on a break and I bought a Nashville t-shirt. It literally just said Nashville on it. And I had a
Yeah.
pair of skinny jeans. So I was like, I'm going to rock this. This feels comfortable to me. And I'm
Yes.
going to fit in. And I like that. That makes me so comfortable. And then I texted you and I was like, I remember you were going to be Dolly. And you didn't care if people were showing up in a concert t-shirt or if they were
Yeah, I
going to
was
dress as a,
committed.
yeah, you were fully committed, girl. And I was like, "Are you going to be Dolly?" And you were like, "Yeah." And you texted me a photo of what you were wearing and I was like, "Hope, I'm scared to be Tina." And you said words that I will never forget and honestly carry me through in certain interactions today. When will you get an opportunity like this again, Archana?
Yeah.
When? And I had to pause after I read that message because you were absolutely right. When do you get to have fun and be in your element, whether or not someone else around you is doing it? Um,
Yeah, getting out of your comfort zone is it makes you grow. I mean, whether it's something silly like, dressing like Tina Turner or interviewing for a position somewhere, like it makes you
it
grow, don't you think?
it makes you grow, but the actuality of that growth, the hope is discomfort. And that is what I've fought all my life. I don't want to be uncomfortable. I mean, who wants to be uncomfortable?
I
Growth sounds
know.
great, but who wants the discomfort? And I think just learning to normalize that you're going to be uncomfortable and
Mhm.
learn, like for me, that was a huge lesson. Like I'm doing something that I'm not used to, and that means I'm going to be uncomfortable. And I
Yeah.
expect being uncomfortable now, right? But on the other side of that discomfort is growth that you would have never had you stayed in that little box.
Yeah, and freedom. Like I felt so free as,
As
a
Dolly,
different person as Dolly.
those are our alter egos, I swear. No, and think about it. The energy that we showed up with in those outfits when we showed up is that we owned that person. We were going
Yeah.
to fully embody and respect the life that the great life that they have, right? And what happened in return, Hope, the way we were received, because you and I, yes, we went to the reception, but then we took those girls out on into town into Nashville.
Yes.
And the way that everyone reacted and responded and the energy that we received from them because we were putting ourselves out
Yes.
there was so
That
much love.
Yes, I put myself out there like, "I am beloved, I am Dolly, everybody loves me," and it's funny because that energy and
Is
I was
exactly
not
what was
really Dolly.
reciprocated. But it was
Yes,
what was
but
reciprocated, right?
and that's
Like
what you're
we put that
saying,
out.
like, in the
Yeah.
world, it's what you give off.
It's what you give off. And think about all the people that stopped us to take photos and were like, you made our night. Like they
Yeah.
really thought we were some sort of celebrity girl.
I love that, and did that help carry you from well, okay, let me stop myself. How did you get from just dermatology PA to getting so involved in, like, the National Dermatology PA Organization, SDPA?
Yeah, so definitely strip stream people for sure. The SDPA community the leadership community is huge. And just showing up, people invested in me. People, I applied for director at large position and got denied. And for most
Ah, I didn't know that.
people, yeah, that was like back in 2011 or 12. And then 8 years later to be president of an organization that first said, no, we're not going to choose you. Like I didn't win
Yeah.
the vote, but that was because, no one knew me. I just took the chance of putting my name on the ballot. And instead of that being like the closed door, if you will, what happened is that opened a door that I needed. Sometimes we're like
Hmm.
knocking on these doors and trying to open doors that we're not ready to enter.
Yeah.
And so what happened was Jackie Kemen at the time reached out to me and said, I'm sorry that you didn't get chosen for DAL, but what about the membership committee? Would you consider chairing the membership committee? And that was really my open door in to understand how a national organization works. So I was
Yeah.
membership committee's chair. And once I got into that position, other leadership just really, really invested in me, in my personal development, in my growth. They showed me what was possible. And that's really what happened. All of the people that I worked with for, 10 years were slipstream
Hmm.
people, and they've all
Wow.
gone on to do amazing, huge things that, I would never have even imagined would be possible for me.
Yeah. That's so cool. And I was so excited when you were president.
Even
Although it
though it
was
was during
during,
COVID.
well, I was going to say, yeah. So how did that affect you?
Um, it I think everything that I had prepared for in some sort of strange way prepared me for that time frame. And what I mean by that is, was I prepared for COVID? Was anyone prepared? No. But I knew I had the mindset, the skill set to be able to pivot
Yeah.
and to be able to still connect with the membership and still make some of the big organizational changes that we needed in order to move it forward. So even though it was a COVID era, if you will, it was still so exactly what I needed at the time that I needed.
Yeah. And you, okay. So I know a lot of people listening are like, okay, okay, she's done a lot. She's amazing. But tell everybody, like, you had two little kids, you had a baby,
Yeah, and that
and
and that's why I say
Mhm.
like in a strange sort of way, like COVID actually ended up working out for me. Like the So when I became SCPA president, it's very much a family sort of environment. I had two, a couple months prior, I had two close deaths in my family.
Oh,
And then at that time, I had taken on a new practice location role, and I also was in a high risk pregnancy. So there was
wow.
a lot behind the scenes that really only the people closest to me knew about. Um, and COVID allowed me a chance to breathe a little bit, right? Because if we were
Hmm.
fully normal and with all the conferences in person, I truthfully hope, I don't know how I would have pulled that off.
Yeah,
Because
that's a lot of travel.
yeah, and personally, there was just a lot going on behind the scenes. That was a lot to manage with just helping my mom out. We had lost my
Yeah.
dad, and so it was just a lot to navigate. And so, you know, yeah, behind the scenes, there was a lot. I will have to say another slipstream person is my husband for sure, because it's not
Mm.
easy to be a woman so in the front, right? Like so
Yeah.
in the front of your profession, um, and doing, amazing things with other like-minded women and men. It's hard to be married to someone with my ambition.
Yes, that's true. Is he
And
what is he in the medical field?
he's not. And I don't know how it would have ever worked if he was.
Yeah. My
He
husband's in forestry.
See, there, like I feel like a lot of PA women that I meet, their husbands are doing something completely separate.
Yeah.
So no, my husband was an IT consultant and a real estate guy. So a lot of business endeavors. but yeah, having two young kids and, Ari, our youngest, she's tiny when I took a even more traveling job, right? Like I went to an MSL position from doing all of the STPA stuff, which requires, late night board calls, travel, lots and lots of different conversations with so many people throughout the year and time away from your family. You need someone who is going to stand behind you and, be there for your kids and not make you feel bad for pursuing your
Yeah.
ambitions. Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you go through burnout, or how did you transition from clinical medicine to
To
pharmacology?
pharmacology, definitely, yeah, definitely during COVID, it was burnout for sure. It was now I can tell the signs of it. Back then I could just feel it. Now I know like clinically, oh yeah, that's definitely burnout. But back then it was just I was exhausted, right? Like
Yeah.
that was my biggest symptom is exhausted, and the things that used to bring me joy no longer brought me joy.
Mm-hmm.
And that felt very unsettling, Hope, like
Yeah.
very disorienting, very much like, well, what's wrong with me? Like, these are the things that I went to school for. This is, at the time when I was president, I had members calling me, asking me how they could get into dermatology.
Oh
Uh,
yeah. And here you are, burned out, wanting to get out.
yeah. And so I felt, so guilty, like, am I doing the wrong thing here? But the thing about your emotions is that they're there to teach you something. It doesn't mean you have to
Mm-hmm.
do anything about them, but they are there to like alert you to something going on. And the
Yeah.
emotion of just um unfulfillment
Uh-huh.
is what I was getting. Like I was getting a lot of just I'm just exhausted and unfulfilled here.
Yeah.
And that my patience was waning. Like I was just like I used to be so patient with everyone, and now I just feel like, just not that way anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So those were the signs that I was definitely feeling. And again, Hope, life unfolds in a way if you allow it to really rechart your course. Like that burnout could have been, me saying like forget it. I'm just going to quit. I'm going to, no longer practice anything, and which is fine. Some people need to take a break and a step away. But for me, looking back, those emotions, without all of the family trauma that was going on, the losses, without the pregnancy, all of that was the perfect storm to make me move
Yeah.
because I would
Yeah.
not have moved had
Yeah.
it
I
not
think
been for those
burnout
things.
is such a wake-up call. I mean, you have to see it that way, but it really is a wake-up call that something has to change.
Yeah. So I think it makes you so uncomfortable that you no longer have
Hmm.
a choice.
Yeah.
It's like either you're going to do the thing or you're not, but you're going to decide to either go one way or the other. So often we sit in like that indecision. That's very
Yes.
princess mindset, Hope, just to bring it back, that
Yeah. I would.
indecisiveness.
The idea of like displeasing my supervising physician or having a confrontation where I said, this is not working for me, that made me so uncomfortable that I put up with burnout for a lot longer than I needed to until, like you said, it finally reached the tipping point where burnout made me so uncomfortable and so just could not get back in alignment until I quit my job.
See, like you were given signs like,
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
this is what you should do, or but our fear is so great. And it's not
Uh-huh.
that our fear is wrong, it's just it's scary to do something new, right?
Yeah.
And think about it, we went to school like now when I mentor pre-PA students, um, getting into PA school is so difficult now.
Yeah, you put everything
So
on the
difficult.
line,
You
and
put
then you
everything on the
pay a
line, and
hundred
then you pay
thousand dollars. And then you
and then you pay
spend
all
6 years.
yeah, you do all of that, and and now here we are burnt out. And so what,
Hmm.
like, kind of wrapping my mind around that and realizing it's a privilege to be a PA. I am so fortunate that I had that ability. that we got to see the patients we got to see and do the things that we got to do and to practice it in my most favorite field, dermatology. Like that is a gift. Um, but what I was doing was confining myself to only that life and not
Yeah.
realizing that, I can use those same skill sets that I learned as a clinician and apply it for bigger impact and influence elsewhere. Um,
Yeah.
and that was something that was really uncomfortable because very few people had gone and done things outside of the clinical realm.
Mhm.
There are huge giants in our dermatology PA profession that I look up to and respect. And very few of them ventured outside because we have this mindset that if you're a PA, you've made it. And if you're a dermatology PA, you're at the top of the game.
Yeah.
There's nothing greater than that. And God forbid you leave your presidency and go to, the dark side which is what everybody when I went to pharma said,
Yeah.
welcome to the dark side. And I said, like, this is so bizarre. Why are you guys calling yourself the dark side? Because they say that, pharma has that rep, like, oh, it's where you make all the money, and it's just this dark sort of commercial side is what they would
Yeah.
say. But to me, Hope, it's like people assign labels to things and it just becomes innate for me to
Mhm.
say that. But for me, pharma is definitely not the dark side. For me, it's
Yeah.
an opportunity to influence um, patient populations that I would have never been able to see all of the patients that were impacting their lives on a day-to-day, one-to-one basis. So when I chose to move to pharma, I chose because I wanted greater impact.
Yeah. I hear that over and over from PAs who have switched to pharmacology.
Pharmacology, yeah.
Yeah, that they have a bigger global impact. They're seeing more than just one person per appointment. It's a much bigger scale.
There's a strategy to it where even coming into pharma where there's MDs and PhDs. I'm a PA, and I struggled very early on and even mid-career as a PA, that I didn't have an MD behind my name. I
Mm.
definitely struggled with that because patients constantly questioned, like, you're an assistant, you know
Yeah.
so it's that constant, that thought, like, I'm not enough, and then here I move into a profession with all terminal degrees, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, well, how do I belong and how can I contribute? And and that's why I guess the biggest thing I want to tell your listeners is it's not your profession, it's the skill set that you bring to the table. So don't be labeled and don't confine yourself by the profession that you're in. Those skill
Yep.
sets are transferable. And there's something unique that I bring to the table and my other colleagues who are PAs who are in pharma, and that's clinical experience. It's great to
Yes.
design a clinical trial, but if you don't know how that actually translates to patient care, then you're missing a big piece of the puzzle. And that's one huge way that PAs have influenced strategy in pharma.
Yeah, I love that because you have over a decade of experience working with patients, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and not everybody who's behind the scenes has that experience. Did you, I guess, how did you, people are probably going to wonder, how did you find your job? Did you look on Indeed or was it connections with people you knew?
Yeah, so more slipstream in here.
Yeah.
It was definitely a relationship that I had as a practicing dermatology PA. So my MSL for a company had switched companies and been promoted to a field director. And so through an organic conversation with him, just talking to him about burnout and about different things that I was looking at doing, he suggested, like, why don't you just try this?
Yeah.
Why don't you just give it a try and see what it feels like? And Hope, giving something a try is so scary.
It
Like, this is
is.
not like me trying a new
Yeah.
restaurant,
I
you
felt
know?
myself clenching as you were talking about it.
I'm like, this is not, me picking something different off the menu. This is me literally changing my entire day-to-day life
Yeah.
with a young family in the throes of COVID. Um, but again, had I not had the circumstances I had at the time, I wouldn't have even been willing to try it. But because
Yeah.
I was so fed up with my current circumstances, I said, what do I have to lose? I'm still going to
Yeah.
always have my license and my degrees. So, worst case scenario, I could always jump back.
Yes. That's
But
I
this
tell
opportunity
PAs.
might not come again.
Yeah, it's not a you're not making a forever decision. No decision has to be forever. It's like your next right step.
Your next right step. Yep. And the other thing, I'm going to steal this from Cynthia Griffith, but she introduced me to a term that I love, which is life crafting. Like we
Yes.
get to craft our own lives, and
Hmm.
you get to decide what flavor you're living, what chapter you're going to live. Just the idea that we don't have to constantly believe that we're in these boxes and we have to follow this one set of rules. Like
Yes.
you are your biggest rate limiting step. It's you,
Hmm.
and it was me putting all of these boundaries on how big I could grow that
Yeah.
limited me. It was me, not other people, me.
Yes. When you get that concept, that's when the world opens up possibility.
Totally. Because you're no longer blaming your circumstances on someone else on what they
Yeah.
didn't give you. It's you're owning it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Mic drop, Tina.
That's right.
I love that. All right. So, any words to your younger self if you could go back and talk to the insecure princess, Archana?
Let go and have fun.
Yeah.
I was so straight-laced and just like everything had to have a checkbox next to it, hope. And I I was just so cookie cutter. I believed that you had to, if you chose one path, that was your path forever. And you could never like go off of that path. And now, like Archana today is just, it's a forest and I'm making my own path.
Oh, I love that. Yes. Why do you think we get in it in our heads that we can't change our minds and we can't pivot?
I think because it's safe. It's
Yeah.
safe. It's there to protect us until it no longer is protective and it's debilitating. Early on, like I think you need direction and you need to have some sort of path and some sort of boundaries, kind of like your training wheels, right? Like they're there to help you learn how to ride. But so many people are in their adult lives and in their elderly years still with their training wheels on. They're
Yeah.
they haven't taken those things off and realized that they can ride a lot faster, a lot further without them. Um,
Yes.
and so things, those training wheels helped until they started slowing me down. I couldn't get up that hill with
Hmm.
those training wheels dragging.
Yeah. And what's next on your horizon?
Next on my horizon. So I don't know. I'm in a doctorate program right now. And
That's awesome.
I just think the world is my oyster. So like it's
Yeah.
just I'm open to whatever new possibilities are there, and I'm no longer boxing myself into a certain life.
Yes. Oh, this has
Yeah.
been so good. Thank you,
Oh, Hope, it's
Archana.
always a pleasure seeing you. Thank you for being one of my slipstream people.
Oh, thank you for sharing that concept with us and for sharing your story.
My pleasure. Talk soon.
All right, let me stop it.